Hey, this is Glover Teixeira, UFC light heavyweight champion.
Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, fight family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexis, and welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is wewantpicks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We want picks. To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi everybody from American Picks.
My name's Angelo and welcome to We Want Picks. This is Quick Picks. So I'm going to walk through the entire UFC Vegas 47 fight card. I'm going to give you my picks and my bets, and I'm going to do it in 20 minutes or less. If you want a full detailed breakdown with multiple perspectives, make sure you subscribe to the channel and watch our full breakdowns every single Tuesday night live on YouTube. If you want $50 free, make sure you go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, let me know, and I will send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it, $50 from me to you for free. And that's at wewantpicks.com/bets. Make sure you like this video. Let's see if we can get to 100 likes. And let's jump right in. The first fight on the card is Denis Bodnar versus Malcolm Gordon. Denis Bodnar is wild. He's making his UFC debut, and he's a wild man. He comes charging forward. He wings punches in all directions, and then he drops to your legs, picks you up, old school Matt Hughes style, runs you across the cage, and just slams you down. His takedowns and slams are very impressive. On the ground, he has submissions, but they're basics. He's got very solid basics. He's working head and arms, arm bars, things like that. He's not going to be doing spider guard, X guard, and working craziness, but his wrestling is so solid and his base is so solid that he just sticks to those basics and gets it done. Malcolm Gordon is a Bleed JJ black belt. He's got solid striking. His chin is a little suspect. He has really high striking guard, so his hands are up here, and he likes to come forward, which in the past has opened him up for takedowns, but ultimately it's fine because he does want to be on the ground. He averages almost 2 takedowns per fight. He has a very low 18% takedown accuracy. Because of his chin, his path to victory in most fights is to get it to the ground. Because of that 18% takedown success rate, sometimes he needs you to take him down to get it there. And Denis Bodnar is the absolute pick here. I think Gordon's going to have a speed advantage and honestly a technique advantage on the feet as well. But Bodnar's wild punches, the power comes from the craziness and his just very offensive wrestling. I think Denis Bodnar has a wild UFC debut and gets this done. Then we've got Jailton Almeida versus Danilo Marques. Jailton Almeida is the real deal. He's a great prospect. He has powerful hands, and he actually considers himself a striker, even though the rest of us who watch him fight and have broken down tape absolutely realize that he is a grappler. All of his wins are by stoppage, and that's because he is like a dog with a bone. He comes in hot, and he relentlessly works for takedowns. And once he gets it on the ground, he will chase submissions, and he will hit you in those transitions. So as he's moving from guard to half guard, he's elbowing you and opening you up from there. The issue, though, is when he's on the ground, he does take risks. He is absolutely a submission over position kind of guy, and that has gotten him some trouble, or at least some tricky situations in the past. Danilo Marques, he's a solid grappler. He has lots of takedowns, plenty of control. He does have technical boxing, but there isn't much power in those strikes, and his path to victory is the grappling. If you watch his loss to Kennedy Nzechukwu, he was just okay in the striking exchanges. He dominated the grappling exchanges, and he was knocked out at the very end of that fight because he got a little too comfortable striking when he should not have. And this fight feels like they're giving Almeida a fight that he can win so that they can push him and he can be the best, the next big thing at the light heavyweight division. And I honestly agree with that. That's what's happening here. I mean, Jailton Almeida is the real deal. Danilo has solid grappling, but it's not as good as Almeida's. And, he has solid control. So if he does get the takedowns and he hangs out on top and takes his time, he could potentially hold Almeida there and prevent some of the craziness or catch Almeida in one of those scrambles, end up on top. Almeida's the pick here, but if he does start going for submission over position and give something up that he shouldn't, I would not be surprised if Danilo Marquez snuck out a round or two. And we got Alexis Davis taking on Julija Stoliarenko. Alexis Davis is the veteran here. And it's an interesting fight because Alexis Davis, she's a busy striker. She almost lands 5 significant strikes per minute. But unfortunately for her, she is hit just as often. She has a 1-to-1 striking differential, essentially. She does a nice job throwing in combinations, and she does mix in some leg kicks pretty well. Historically, Alexis loses to just the absolute top of the division and then beats pretty much everybody else underneath that. Her recent losses are to Penny Khanzad, Viviana Araujo, Jennifer Maia, and Caitlin Chikagian, and every single one of those women is ranked in the top 10 in their respective weight classes. Julija Stoliarenko is one of those fighters. She has fantastic jiu-jitsu, but no wrestling. So she wants it to be on the ground, but she can't really get it there on her own. Her 12% takedown accuracy is not going to do it for her. And she is only 1 for 8 in takedown attempts in her entire UFC career. She does have a ton of submission wins, and they are mostly off her back because she has a phenomenal bottom jiu-jitsu game, a great guard. Her striking is sloppy, and she is very hittable at a negative 3-2 striking differential. I got to go with the vet here. I'm going with Alexis Davis to use her experience and use her fight IQ to grind out what I think will be a pretty one-sided win for her. I think she dominates bell to bell. Julija will get her into some tricky situations on the ground if they even end up there. But I think Alexis Davis, busy combinations, gets it done. I'm going with the veteran here in this matchup. And we got Philip Rowe taking on Jason Witt. Philip Rowe is huge for the division, and you can see that with his 5-inch height advantage and 10-inch reach advantage. He's a high-volume striker. He does a great job using his length and range. His ground game is fantastic, but his wrestling could use some work. Jason Witt is a wrestler. He's a grinder. He's only looking for a takedown and submissions. He's not really looking to hang out striking, and he doesn't even really look for too much ground and pound. He has no intention on engaging in the kickboxing match, and that's fine because his stand-up is just okay. His chin has been questioned in the past. When he does get on top, and I'm saying when and not if, because he will absolutely get on top, he is nice and busy. He has great control, solid pressure, and he works from there. He's not going to hunt for submissions, but he's not going to not grab one either, if that makes any sense. So he's going to have solid pressure on top. He's not going to take a bunch of risks, but when you start squirming and scrambling to work out, that's when he'll sink something in and get it done. I'm going with Jason Witt here. Rowe is the favorite. I totally get why he's the favorite. He's the better striker, and he's got better jiu-jitsu, but I think the takedowns and the elbow-in ground control will be enough for Jason Witt to ride out a decision win. Then we've got Marc-Andre Barriault versus Chidi Njokuani. Marc-Andre is a pretty well-rounded guy. He's got solid kickboxing, solid takedowns. If you decide to brawl with him, he will happily get sucked into a brawl. Just watch his fight against a Zaitar. His jiu-jitsu is solid, but his takedowns could definitely use a little bit of work. Marc-Andre is typically looking to pressure forward and wear you down on your feet. Chidi Njokuani, he's a very good striker. He's got speed, power, solid distance control. He's not a high-volume guy, but he sticks and moves really well. His feet are never in the same place for very long, and people have a really hard time getting to him because of that constant footwork. If you are able to get inside of his reach and work your way to his legs, he does have, you can have solid success with takedowns because he does not have the best takedown defense. And this is interesting because, Barriault is a striker, Chidi's a striker, but I think there's a clear path to victory here, and that's to take him down, hold him down, ride him out there. If you chase him on your feet, Chidi's elusive, reactive striking and his counter striking is very good, and he can absolutely catch you on the way in. He has so many fights where he just takes one step to the side as somebody comes forward, blasts them, and then moves on. So Barriault's path to victory here is the grappling. I do think he gets it done, but he cannot be chasing on his feet. He needs to work in controlled, touch him up, then drop for the takedowns and the jiu-jitsu. Hakeem Dawodu fighting Mike TRIZANO. And if you remember, Mike TRIZANO is coming off of a really nice win for him. He was a big underdog against Ludovic Klein, and he got that done in a pretty big upset. He's a fun forward pressure striker. He's got real power, lots of energy. And he was doing so well in that fight against Ludovic Klein, who's also a striker, that Ludovic had to start shooting takedowns and trying to get Mike TRIZANO to the ground. He can put his foot on and off the gas pedal really well. So he turns it up when he needs to. He takes his time when he needs to do that as well. I like Mike TRIZANO. He's a calculated striker. He does a good job mixing in power and speed. Hakeem Dawodu is a high-level striker who throws everything with power. He sets a nice forward pressure pace. He still manages to have excellent counter punches as well. He'll walk forward throwing leg kicks and straights, and when you fire something back, he dips his head, and then he throws right back at you. He's incredibly technical, and he has very real power. This is going to be a really fun striking match. We have two fun guys that are going to go at it. We've got power. We've got speed on both sides. I like Dawodu to win here. I think he wins this fight. My only issue is the odds are wide. I mean, Dawodu's messing around with a 3-1 favorite on some cards, and Mike TRIZANO just showed the world that he can beat superior strikers to him, and he's perfectly fine in the underdog spot. So I still like Dawodu here. Hakeem's the pick. I like him to win. And we got Miles Johns versus John Sexy Mexi Castaneda. And Miles Johns is a good, strong grappler. He's got heavy hands, explosive speed. The wrestling is the core of everything that he does. He's constantly shooting takedowns, and he uses that explosive wrestling and power to get the fight to the ground and to work from there. He's coming off his second knockout win in a row, and these aren't ground and pound TKOs. These are just straight up legit knockouts. So Miles Johns with power in his hands. Sexy Mexi Castaneda. He's a really fun come forward fighter. He's really well rounded. He sets an incredible pace. He loves coming forward. He absolutely loves it. He comes forward with fast hands, and then he just starts shooting takedowns. And when he has the opening, he will take every shot that he could possibly take if it's there. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he does make up for it with that forward pressure and a wide variety of strikes. I like Miles Johns here. This entire card is stacked with fun fights, and this is absolutely another one. I like Johns' power and his wrestling to match Castaneda's forward pressure and toughness. This should be a fun one, but I'm going with Miles Johns. Then we have another really fun fight. We've got Julian Erosa taking on Steven Peterson. Julian Erosa, so fun to watch. He's a violent striker with a ton of finishes. He throws everything with intent. And even if he is a bit hittable, which he is, and you can see that here with his strikes absorbed per minute, almost at 6, it's fine because so far his chin absolutely holds up and he has not had any issues. He's had most of his success fighting at range, but if he gets sucked into a firefight, he can hang there as well, but he will get touched up. But again, that chin has been holding up for now. He has solid jiu-jitsu if he needs it, and we saw that against Charles Jourdain with a nice come-from-behind submission there. Steven Peterson, he's a tough guy. He likes to strike. He showcased his submission defense when he just beat up Chase Hooper a few months ago, and he is willing to take risks because he took Chase Hooper down a few times in that fight, and everybody knew that Chase Hooper was a nasty grappler. And when we broke down Steven Peterson versus Chase Hooper, I said the way that you beat him up is to point strike and to get him with volume. And that's exactly where Julian Erosa shines. So Steven Peterson is going to have a long road. I'll say that Erosa might have some trouble with Peterson's striking style, but I do like Erosa to push the action, stay in Peterson's face, and get it done in a fun, ugly brawl. But Steven Peterson is one of these guys. I was surprised when I did their ages because he's only 31. I thought he was like a grizzled, I just thought, 36, grizzled, been around the block. But he is a younger guy, and he has no problem making it 30, and neither does Julian. So this could be an absolute war of a fight. And then we have the true Ultimate Fighter finale. We have TRIZANO Gore versus Bryan Battle. Bryan Battle was supposed to fight TRIZANO Gore to be the Ultimate Fighter champion, but TRIZANO was injured, pulled out, and then Gilbert Urbina stepped in on short notice. Bryan Battle beat Gilbert Urbina, but if you remember, Gilbert Urbina was winning the striking exchanges, winning most of those grappling exchanges, and then completely gassed, was exhausted, and then Bryan Battle pulled out a win. It was a very interesting fight. Bryan Battle is a good striker. He's got solid volume. He has nice head kicks, and he did show us how he is never out of a fight because he was on the wrong side of that fight with Gilbert Urbina before he pulled out that win. TRIZANO, he's heavy-handed. He's a come-forward wrestler. Almost every fight he's in, he will throw big, heavy punches and immediately drop to the legs. He never stops doing that. He'll literally throw 3-4 punches, drop to the legs. You stuff that takedown, he comes up, 3-4 punches, drops to the legs, and that is just a full cycle until he gets you to the ground. And it's an interesting matchup because Bryan Battle is a very talented guy. He's proven that he does have a legit ground game, especially when he's behind on the cards. But I do like TRIZANO to just come forward, throw a bunch of strikes, go to the legs, and he either gets the takedowns, and I think he'll work from there. His cardio should hold up. Or if he doesn't get the takedowns, he'll still win a decision because he's holding Bryan Battle against the cage the entire fight. So I like TRIZANO here to get this done, to be the true Ultimate Fighter champion. And it's always interesting because he won't have the actual title, but he actually may end up with a better contract because those Ultimate Fighter contracts, they sound great, but there's not much flexibility in there. Then we've got Phil Hawes returning after the shocking upset loss to Chris Curtis just a few months ago, and he's taken on poor Sam Alvey. And I say poor Sam Alvey because that dude has not won a single fight since 2018. 6 fights in a row, no wins out of those 6 fights. Phil Hawes, as you know, is a nasty wrestler. His striking is getting better. He's got power in his hands. He's an explosive guy. His striking is getting better. He's mixing in kicks. But we've seen now that his chin is just not what it is supposed to be. He had cardio issues. He fixed those. Now he's got chin issues. I don't know if you can fix those, but he is such a nasty wrestler that he can make things happen when he needs to. Sam Alvey, 33-16, true veteran here, been in every situation you could ever imagine. He's fought drag-em-out wars. He's fought very quick, easy, straightforward wins. He has literally been in every situation possible, and that's what makes him interesting. Because, yeah, he's got a ton of losses, but don't look at those losses. Don't look at his recent streak. Look at what he does and what he does well. He's got power in his hands. It's very deceiving. He has unorthodox striking, so he can catch you with things when you're not expecting it. And he has decent takedown defense, and he has no problem being in a war. So we have a full camp Sam Alvey taking on a Phil Hawes on short notice who has had cardio issues in the past and is coming off a knockout with chin issues. This fight, the line should be dead even. This honestly is a pick'em. I like, my brain can't bring myself to say Sam Alvey's going to win because of his record, but I think this is a phenomenal spot for Sam Alvey to win. The reality is Phil Hawes is the better athlete, the better everything for the most part, and he is at Sanford MMA, and they're not stupid, and he knows what his chin is. I imagine Phil Hawes will look like the dominant college wrestler that he was, and he's going to shoot a million takedowns on Sam Alvey. But this is a live bet fight because if he comes out there hanging on his feet or if he's not having success with the takedowns, I'm betting Sam Alvey all the way. But Phil Hawes is the pick with the assumption that he's going to wrestle and take this a little more seriously. Then we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris. Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's a special guy. He's one of these guys that when you watch him fight, you know he's going to do big things in the sport. He's 14-0 with 14 finishes. He's knocking people out on his feet. He's taking people down and submitting them. He's even just straight up jumping to guillotines in grappling exchanges on your feet. He can literally win anywhere. He's very hard to hit, and he has a ton of power. He's got solid defensive wrestling and judo, and he's very active when he gets to the ground. Rakhmonov is the real deal. Carlston Harris is also, he's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's got wild striking, but he does have some power in there. He's a very slick, opportunistic grappler as well, meaning he'll snatch up a Darce. Even while you're standing, he'll work in a head and arm choke when he sees those openings. His wrestling is solid as well, but he doesn't have traditional takedowns. He likes body locks, trips, things like that, and he'll work you to the mat. You know, listen, this is a much tougher fight than the odds. The odds have Rakhmonov as a 3-1 favorite. I do think this is closer than that because Carlston Harris is a gamer. He is a gamer. He's really tough, and he's decent enough everywhere to make this a tough, gritty fight. I do give the edge to Rakhmonov because I think he can get it to the ground more effectively. I think he's got more power in his hands, and he's got solid wrestling, but so does Carlston Harris. So I do like Rakhmonov to win the fight. That's the pick. But Carlston Harris could make this dirty, and I might buy a round on the judges' scorecards in my bet. Make sure you watch our full detailed breakdown to get other people's perspectives on this fight as well. But Rakhmonov is the pick. Don't let the odds fool you. It's not the lock that they think it is. Then we've got Punahele Soriano, and he is fighting Nick Maximov. Punahil is a striker. He has a ton of power, and he can put most people out on their feet. He can also wrestle. He has 4 takedowns in the UFC, and that includes 3 against Jamie Pickett in his Contender Series win. And he is listed as having a 100% takedown defense, but he's only defended 1 single takedown, and that was against Brendan Allen. So I wouldn't necessarily go all in on that statistic. Nick Maximov is a very solid BJJ guy. He knows what he's good at, and he sticks to it. His striking is pretty raw, but his takedowns are okay, but he will just relentlessly try to work those takedowns and then work his jiu-jitsu on the ground. And Nick's an interesting guy because he started his career at heavyweight, and now he's settled his way down to middleweight. Competitive at all those weight classes. He's 7-0. 6 of those fights are just absolute nonsense cushion fights. But one of those wins was on Contender Series, and that was at heavyweight. And, he did what he needed to do. It's an interesting matchup because this is straight up striker versus grappler. Straight up. We haven't really seen Punahil's grappling tested. We thought it would be tested against Brendan Allen, but Brendan Allen only shot 1 takedown because he pieced up Punahil with the strike. But Nick Maximov, he's only got 7 fights. I think on the feet, he's just so outclassed, it's out of control. I don't think his takedowns are good enough to really get something going against Punahil. So I do like Punahil to win here. Brendan Allen was able to beat up Punahil, but Brendan Allen's got some decent striking, right? He's got some solid volume, somewhat technical. He's a far superior than Nick Maximov. And Punahil gassed heavy. He gassed heavy because he was chasing that knockout. So this is another one. Punahil's the pick. But if he gasses after the first round and can't get Nick out of there, this may be a phenomenal live bet situation for Nick Maximov. And then we have the main event of the evening. Phenomenal grappler Jack Hermansson versus ridiculous volume striker Sean Strickland. And this is interesting because Jack Hermansson, like I said, he's a great grappler. If he takes you down, he's very dominant. His striking is solid, but he's not going to be KOing anybody anytime soon. What I do like about Jack is that he will stick to his game plan and he will have success. He took down Shabazian 3 times in a win, Marvin Vettori twice, and that was a loss. Jacare Souza 3 times in a win, and he's just not afraid to put himself in harm's way to get those takedowns. He will just, I imagine he's going to come right at Sean Strickland, take whatever Sean throws at his face, and then shoot some takedowns there. Sean Strickland's a blue-collar striker. He just walks forward. He throws a ton of punches. His footwork's not great. His head movements, he just comes forward and just has insane volume. He doesn't have a lot of power, or at least he doesn't have incredible power that you can see, but he has caught people and dropped people with jabs and very short punches. And I think a lot of it is really just his volume is nonstop, and eventually he catches people the right way. His arms do all the work. He has no hip rotation whatsoever, which makes him easy to read. And honestly, eventually he is going to fight a high-level striker that is just going to piece him up. His hips go nowhere. He doesn't have great footwork, but he is very effective with his just sheer volume. His takedown defense is 82%, which is nice and solid. And we've seen his takedown offense. He took Uriah Hall down 4 times to completely mix up that game plan and throw people off. It's an interesting fight. I am not a Sean Strickland guy. I think he's bought into his own hype. He was funny on Twitter for a while. Now it's getting a little ridiculous. But he is effective. He is effective, and he gets it done with just literally 1 million strikes. It's absolutely crazy what he can do. I am going to go with Sean here because I do think Hermansson can be submission or bust at times. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hermansson can get a few takedowns and really frustrate Sean Strickland and get that done. I doubt Sean Strickland's going to employ a wrestle-heavy game plan like he did against Uriah Hall, but this is another fight. This entire card is a great live betting card because if Jack Hermansson has early success with those takedowns, I will be ready to go with those live bets, and I'm going to lock those in. Should be a really fun fight. This is an awesome fight card with some sneaky sleepers on there. Make sure you subscribe, like our videos. Let's see if we can get up to 100 likes on this video. wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our partners, and I will send you $50 as a thank you. And watch our full card breakdown on Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Central, and Jacob will be there with me to give you his side of the story. I'll see you then.